Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for the Thanks and Blessings video hop. We're going to jump right in, and we are going to emboss the beautiful Walnut Branch 3D embossing folder with our die cutter. Look at the depth, and oh, it's just so gorgeous. So we're going to set that aside, and we're going to stamp our sentiment. The sentiment comes from the Greatest Blessings stamp set from Altenew. We're stamping an Obsidian Pigment Ink so that we can heat set this with clear embossing powder. I think it just adds an extra special touch. And the reason we're doing this now is I want to set it aside so it can cool for a few moments so that we can do some ink blending, some light ink blending on the top of it, making sure that it is 100% nice and cool for us when we go to do that. So we're going to set this aside for the moment. We'll bring back in our Walnut Branch panel. I'm showing you we're going to use Hazelnut and Almond butter inks today. We will also use Antique Gold Pigment Ink a little bit later. We're going to start out with our Hazelnut, which is the lighter of the two, and I'm going in with my large blending tool and just getting some color on there. The important key to remember here is you don't need to get all the color the first time around. It's good to build up your color. It looks more realistic, and it just gives nicer tones as the ink settles into the cardstock. So we're going to come in with our darker tone, our almond butter, and we're going to add this around our card panel. I got a little too much there on the top for my liking, but it's okay. So I'm adding it to the sides, to the bottom. Basically all four sides of my panel are getting the almond butter, and I'm lightly putting a little in the center. So you may have noticed I trimmed down my panel to A2 size so that I can go ahead and get all the sides that we will use. My panel for my sentiment is now dry, so I'm going ahead and just inking that. Sorry, it's a little bit off screen. So we've got our sentiment strip inked, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to drag lightly the antique gold and drop it on our panel. We're going to drag it lightly across our panel just to give the raised portions a little extra touch. We get rid of our scrap piece of paper. We're now going to take our little panel, our little sentiment panel, and we're going to pop that onto a piece of the Woodgrain Bark Cardstock, trim that down, and grab some Altenew foam tape that we are going to go ahead and we're going to put on the back of this so we just give it a little dimension and a little bit more interest. We're going to put our adhesive on the card blank because if we turn our card over, we will get that pigment ink all over our work surface. Ask me how I know. So I'm going to be careful. You're going to see me kind of poking at it here as I do it because I'm getting ink everywhere. So we're going to go ahead and pop our sentiment down, and with our foam tape, it just adds a little bit of extra touch. So there's our card for today, and here's another picture to show you the final card. Here's a list of all the supplies used, and I want to thank you so much for stopping by today. It's always a pleasure to have you visit me. And until next time, I wish you safety and happy crafting.